All right, guys. Thank you so much for hopping on this call with me. I really, really appreciate it. We get asked all the time from our clients, how do I build a buyer's list? And frankly, I just wanted to give them some very, practical and useful tips, but also some advice from some seasoned investors. All of you guys have closed deals yourself, built buyer's lists, things like that. And so I just want to open up this conversation, almost a roundtable discussion of how can we help our clients build their buyers list. So I know, Spencer, you had a few thoughts, so let's just go ahead and start with you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brighton. And, you know, especially in the first year of getting started in real estate investing can be very difficult, not just on finding the deals, but also, finding the cash buyers to, wholesale those deals or, fix and flip or do partnerships, you name it, on those deals. And so in that first span of the year, I was able to compile a list of over about 6,000 cash buyers. And the way that I did it initially, which wasn't very effective, was I was actually doing bandit signs for my marketing. So I actually got a lot of calls from cash buyers wanting to get on my buyers list from those bandit signs. I didn't get a lot of deals. I didn't get any deals from those bandit signs.
Yeah.
I got all the cash buyers. So that's kind of what built the momentum. I think I got 50 off of that, but then I realized, I needed to really get things moving if I wanted to move these properties quickly. So I joined Utah Real Estate Investors Group on Facebook. And from there, I just posted, hey, I'm a new wholesaler. I'm wanting to, I've got deals. I'm looking for buyers, kind of thing. And I would post that probably once a week on there. And every time I'd probably get about 50 to 100, new emails and investors to really, be able to network with on there, which was great. So that's a great way to start, I feel. And then from there, the next level, I probably got maybe 1,000 to 2,000 buyers on my list. The next level to that is you start talking with other people in those groups or in local RIA meetups, and you start networking and finding other wholesalers. And then what I would do is I'd start trading or swapping buyers lists with those other wholesalers, right? So if they had 2,000, buyers on their list, I'd swap them for 2,000 on mine, and so on and so forth. And so I was able to build that up, and, I got up to like 10,000. And then once I filtered through that list, that kind of, I had duplicates and everything else on there. And that kind of funneled everything down to about 6,000 cash buyers. But my point being with all of this is there's levels to that, but it's very, very easy to do. And you can do it in a short amount of time if you know what you're doing and what you're looking for. And ultimately, with a buyer's list like that, it gives you a ton of power for your business, because once you get a deal under contract, all you have to do is compile a really good email and blast that sucker out. And then, before you know it, you're going to have those offers coming in. Right. So that's just kind of how I did it. I know there's a lot of other ways to do that as well, but utilize a lot of those free resources, the local RIAs or, the Facebook groups. Your state Facebook investing group is a huge resource to build your buyers list, and also to JV and swap those lists as well. So.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And it took two sides of that. Sorry, Spencer. I just want to kind of piggy off what you said. First, when you were posting on the groups, Facebook groups, you were saying you had deals, like you had homes you needed to move. And that obviously catches interest. People want to know that if I'm actually getting on a buyer's list, I'm actually going to have the opportunity to get properties. I know there's a lot of posers, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but
Sure.
Just wanting to build up their buyer's list, but they don't actually have deals to blast out to a buyer's list. So it's kind of putting the, what's that phrase? You're doing one before the other. Like you really do need to get homes and you need to be doing deals. And then the buyers typically come, right? They fall into place. Now, the more strategic part of that you said was, okay, I went into Facebook groups. I said that I started getting a list there. I built up a list. From there, I started exchanging lists, and you built up this huge, massive buyers list that you can blast out anytime. And within a day or within a few hours, you're getting tons of responses if the deal's decent, right? Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. And the big thing too here is, you know, I want to definitely emphasize to people that you don't need a giant buyers list to do deals. My first deal that I ever did, I had 15 people on my buyers list, but I had talked to each one of those investors personally over the phone. So I knew exactly what they were looking for. And also when I got that deal under contract, I sent it out, I emailed it out, but I also called and directly contacted each one of them on an individual basis as well. So that's a big key component to it, right? Because we want to ensure that not only are the buyers able to do the deal, but it also fits kind of their criteria, what they're looking for, and that they're serious as well on their side of things. So, you know, there's still some work that needs to be done on the second half of the deal. You can't just blast it out to a list and expect your deal to be, you know, picked up. You got to grind a little bit there. But like I said, once you have some of those top buyers in place, everything kind of just flows. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that reminds me of, we've obviously worked from teams anywhere from solopreneurs to really big operations across multiple states. And I remember the teams that started actually building, they had a guy that was purely for assigning the contract. They were purely for just making sure that we actually close the deal and working the buyers and making sure they retain relationships there. So it's really important that we do have really good relationships with the sellers, but it's almost equivalent to as important as having good relationship with your buyers. You need both sides in order to close a deal, especially if you're doing wholesaling. If you're not doing wholesaling, that it's not as important, I guess. But yeah, Spencer, any other
100%.
thoughts before you need to bounce?
No, I just want to echo what you said there. I mean, the disposition side of your business or the second half side of your business, you know, also needs a lot of care and focus and nurturing as part of growing your business and being able to do, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 deals per month on a consistent basis. But I know Riley and Rylan and some of the other people on the call are going to be able to really take things to the next level here. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you, Spencer. Appreciate it. I know you need to go, but we're going to continue the conversation moving forward. So Riley, Corey, Rylan, what thoughts do you guys have, or what advice would you give to someone starting out wanting to build a buyer's list?
I think for me personally, getting started, there is a lot of conversations, a lot of stipulation about, like Spencer mentioned in those Facebook groups, about should you go for the buyer's list first or get properties under contract first? You know, the chicken or the egg. What's more important to have the first step? And so honestly, like what I kind of came to the realization was, like, it's great to be able to go in those groups and say, hey, I've got properties that I need to find buyers for, because like you said, Brighton, that's going to be way more, you know, attractive to those buyers, instead of, hey, I want to put you on my list for the future, you know, like you've got something now. But also for me, when I was first starting right out of high school, I took it as any action is good action. And, you know, I was just going forward with trying to find the people that I could put on my list. And you'll notice as you go along that even though someone's on your list, they might not jump at everything that you have. Like everyone looks for something very, very specific, whether it's location or the type of house or, you know, the bedrooms, bathrooms, land, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of different things, but you tend to find after a while kind of your heavy hitters and see who is kind of your go-to. Because it's always going to be awesome to send out to everybody and just do a mass thing and just kind of wait for them to flow through. But being able to see, you know, like you said, I don't know if poser sounds negative, but it's nice in that sense too, to see who actually has that. Because a lot of the time, you know, most people are going to say, you know what, I don't really care what the situation is, just if the numbers make sense, then it'll make sense. So, you know, hiring a virtual assistant or whoever to kind of go through maybe some lists would be, I mean, that's how I started. That was super helpful to kind of just build that list. But yeah, for me, it was just kind of like figuring out that any progress is good progress, and then just kind of branching out from there. So
yeah, for sure. If there's poser or fake wholesalers out there, there's definitely just as many buyers. And so just having a massive list of people you can email out to doesn't mean they're actually in the business of buying properties. A lot of people want to be in the business of buying properties, but in reality, they aren't. even there yet. They may have not even purchased a property yet, or they're looking to purchase their first one. But what I've learned talking to, hundreds of investors that we have is typically those closing multiple deals a month, most of the time, they're always going to the same buyer. They typically have a handful of buyers that they've worked with, developed relationships with. And if you've cultured that relationship enough, just about anything you get under contract, they're going to buy because they know it's going to be a good deal. And so that's really key to developing first, yourself as someone that's trustworthy in the industry, people actually want to buy from. And it's really crucial if you want to build a consistent buyer profile for someone to actually want to buy properties from you. So Riley, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that an important part about this is the language that you use when you're basically advertising your services. When I've gone to local RIA meetings, I've had wholesalers come up to me when I was buying properties, and they would use a lot of buzzwords that just kind of told me that they learned how to do everything off of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And first things first, they would always ask me if I was a cash buyer and if I could be added to their buyers list. And I'd ask them what properties they had, and they pretty much always would be empty-handed.
Yeah.
I actually created a specific email that I would give out that I would never check, because I was probably having 60 or 75 deals a day going to that email, and there were probably 5 deals in there that were just duplicates, different wholesalers trying to assign for all different prices, and I didn't want to do that. And so what I've found is people want to do business with an investor who doesn't currently have the funds, or they're in a bind and they aren't able to close on their own deal, and they just want to assign it to another investor. And if buyers see you first as an investor and second as somebody who will take assignments or give assignments, they'll respect you a lot more. And instead of giving you an email that doesn't ever get checked, they'll give you their personal phone number. And the first place you want to go to is the personal phone number of the people who are heavy hitters, and then you can go to some sort of an email list. The next part would be having a variety of different buyers.
Yeah.
For example, general contractors really frequently will take on zero profit deals just because they have massive amounts of payroll they have to keep up with every month, and they want to keep their guys busy and they don't want to lose their subs. And so they take on these deals that they don't care if they make a profit on, they just want to break even. So there goes the profit margin that you have to worry about. And then because they're a general contractor, they have a lower cost of labor. And so general contractors are more likely to pay more for a deal than any other group of people. The next group of people that I would go to would be property managers, because they're going to pitch it to people who are in their portfolio, and their portfolio is full of people who do buy and holds, which they make profit on the back end. They don't make profit on the front end. And then you can go to local brokers and realtors who have listings in that area, because all they've done for the last 6 months is look for people who are interested in paying retail for a property in that area. So if there's any comps that are listed for sale, they would be a really, really good resource to go to. So that's more for direct list building. It's not very fast, but that'll get you probably the most solid people.
Yeah.
And Spencer is right about going to Facebook. There is a quicker way than doing the post yourself, though. You have to be really careful about doing it this way. But you can use data scrapers to actually pull the comments off of posts and compile it into a spreadsheet, and then you can use a bot to clean up the data.
Really?
Because it'll be really ugly. So you can use a bot to clean up the data. Facebook doesn't like it when people do that, though. So you definitely should understand the regulations and not do it through your personal profile. I've had several get blocked.
So it's not necessarily recommended, but it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could get tens of thousands in a day.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And another thought that I had, we had a client, Graham, we've worked with him for a while now. Something he also really liked doing is if he got a home under contract in the neighborhood, he would go to the county records, he'd find the most recent purchases, and he'd try to find contractors or investors that were buying properties in that neighborhood and then contact them and pitch the property to them. Those are ideal buyers for homes you have under contract. And it's a great way to build a buyer's list. The second thought I had while you were talking was the other people that are very much so willing to pay, top dollar, 80, 90 cents on the dollar are huge hedge funds, obviously. They're not as easy to get onto their list, but if you can, they'll buy anything you send to them because all they want to do is buy properties. It takes some but it takes some networking to get into the front door there and make sure you build those relationships. But most major cities across the country, tons of Arizona, Phoenix, most in California, Atlanta, Orlando, all of them have hedge funds buying properties just to acquire equity over the years, and then they'll sell them off. So there's another opportunity to be able to build buyers, but the only way that works is if you have deals in order to give them. So any thoughts, any other comments on that, guys?
Yeah, the hedge funds do work. If you're in a buyer's market, in other words, if there's lots and lots of sellers. Otherwise, like right now in Phoenix here, hedge funds are buying at like 50, 60 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
And the people who are paying the most are general contractors and especially brand new fix and flippers. Pay a premium. Where hedge funds and private equity funds come in really handy is when you're in a down market and most investors have been forced out and it's hard to make money in the market. That's when all the hedge funds start pouring in billions. And then they will pay a really high percentage of the value of the property, but it's of the value of the property at that time, not what the 1 or 2 year projected value of the property would be. They are really, really good to work with. And the way that you can get in with them is going to the live auction in your county. And there'll be several people who are contracted bidders to bid for and in behalf of those hedge funds.
Okay.
And contact them and they'll put you in contact with their person who usually is the director of acquisitions for the hedge fund.
Okay.
And you look at the sale results of that auction. The county actually keeps records of winning bids in the auction, and those bids have to be from a cash buyer, otherwise it gets rejected. So the first thing that they have to do when they submit a bid is hand the person a $10,000 cashier's check of certified funds in order to even make a bid.
Yeah.
And so you know immediately that they mean to close with cash that day, and in those county records is their phone number.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
That's some great information. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Made me sound like a total moron, but it's really
not
good.
at all.
No, but the value is still there. Like, go to the auctions, find those that are bidding, and I'm sure they're pretty easy to find because they're going to buy anything. The nice thing about working with hedge funds is they typically have a buyer's box. If you fit their box, they'll buy. So they're great people to work with if you can get in it. And who knows where the economy is going in the next 6 months, and who they may be pouring in some money. So keep an eye out for that. Cool, Corey. I don't know if you're on the call. Do you have any comments, thoughts, ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. I can share with you guys a recent story of me personally where I came across a new cash buyer in my local area kind of on accident for me actually looking for a property for myself. So, what a lot of new investors can do, right, that's looking to build their cash buyers list, of course, is, drive for dollars, right? So I was driving for dollars, came across the storybook, typical distressed property, right? The kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in the neighborhood, overgrown grass, boarded up windows, a missing roof. So I'm like, okay, this is a great property. And there's a app that's very popular to drive for dollars called the Deal Machine app, which it's free to use, I believe, for the first few attempts. And so I use that app, put the address into the system to get the information for me to get the contact information of the owner. And it turns out, it's the great thing about the app is that you can put in any address into the app and it'll give you the contact information of the property owner, right? And so it turns out that it was actually owned by a corporate LLC. And so I'm like, okay, cool. And within the app, I think the first few attempts, I don't know how many they give you exactly, but you can do what's called skip tracing the owner to get their personal email and contact number. Might not always be accurate, but was able to get the contact number on the LLC. I looked them up. So, and then a second cool tool that you can use, right, is the website Open Corporates, where you can look up a business entity or LLC to attempt to get their contact email or number as well, so you can reach out to them and add them to your list. And so went that method as well to try to get the right numbers, reached out to try to get in front of them, had to go through a couple of different contact attempts, few Google searches, but finally got a hold of the actual registered agent for the LLC and asked him if he had any interest in selling his property. But being that he was an investor himself, right, he owns a few properties in the area, he didn't really quite have the right motivation to let go of that property. He plans on investing a ton of money in doing like a multi-million-dollar flip. So he definitely won because he bought it pretty low. But turns out that he's a big cash buyer in the area, and so was definitely able to kind of build that relationship and let him know that, if I came across more properties, I would definitely send him his way. So just by me looking for a property, a distressed property to potentially wholesale, I came across him as a local cash buyer, and I didn't really invest any money into it. But so using the Deal Machine app, using websites like Open Corporates, where you can get a hold of the contact information for corporate or business type cash buyers, where they're not doing deals individually under their own name through their business. You can still get a hold of them. And then second biggest tip that I would recommend to anybody looking to build a cash buyers list is kind of like what you said earlier, Brighton, which you guys can check out that video on our website as a case study. Graham, he's a huge investor in 3 markets right now, working virtually. This one, you definitely do have to pay for it, but once again, using the power of data and skip tracing, you can pretty much go in your local market that you want to work in, whether by zip code or just by city, and just kind of skim on, say, Zillow. If you don't necessarily have access to the MLS, just kind of skim and look for properties that look like they've actually been flipped. They're going to be vacant, great finishes, updated bathrooms, updated kitchens. And then you could actually, if you're using the MLS or Zillow, on Zillow, you'll be actually able to see the listing agent that sold the property. So you can reach out to them to try to get a hold of the flipper, right? The flipper that they represented to sell the home. So you can build your cash buyers list that way. Or if you don't have access to the MLS, you could still use that method to look for those flip properties, where then you can kind of do your own homework and investigate who the property owner is, skip trace that person, because that they're a flipper, they've rehabbed the property and flipped it and sold it. So then you can skip trace them once again, and then that they're consistently doing deals, they've actually closed deals, so they're very viable and legitimate to be added to your cash buyers list by you kind of just doing that legwork and building your list that way. And then number 3, kind of to piggyback off what Spencer said earlier, very easy to join your local Facebook group there in your local city or state, and just kind of present yourself a network there, and build your cash buyers list that way, as Spencer mentioned. But those would be my top three tips from my perspective.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. That's great. The best buyers are those actually buying and those actually actively investing. And so however you find them, whether it's driving for dollars or finding them through Zillow or posting in the Facebook group, you're definitely going to be able to find quickly those that are actually interested in buying. So as just a final tip and just kind of best practice, if we have a client that's watching this call and is interested in building their list through one of these sources, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to help answer any further questions to our best of our ability. But another just quick tip is the CRM can still be a very powerful tool for collecting and building your buyers list. In the CRM, we have the ability to build out a form and that you could ask your buyers to fill out, and then it would add them as a contact into your CRM. You can then blast them out whenever you have a deal. So I know a lot of people will use like MailChimp, but you can also use the Amplify CRM to do this, manage your buyers list. It's a fantastic tool. So if you want help with that, feel free to reach out to our team and we'd be happy to help set you up and train you on how to build that out. So any last comments, Rylan, Riley?
No, I think you made some really good points, Brighton.
Okay.
I think
That
we're
was all
good.
pretty solid.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for your time. I think there was a ton of value in this call, and I really hope it only brings more value for our clients. So thanks again, guys. Have a great rest of your night.